welcome to night 2 of the Rockingham County Citizens Academy. And tonight the focus will be on our Rockingham Community College president, our Rockingham County manager, and our brand new Rockingham County Museum. Our students are very, very excited about all the new things they're going to see, and they're also going to tour our museum. Sit back and enjoy.
Welcome to the Museum and Archives of Rockingham County, the MARC, here in Wentworth, North Carolina. We're honored to host the Citizens Academy today, and we hope that we'll help you to learn more about your county's history, and what we have to offer. Here at the MARC, we know history is important. It's our mission and our privilege to collect, preserve, and share the history of the county. We are a supplement to the education system. We are an attraction for our citizens and people from outside the area. We are the keepers of history. We think this is an important venue. We think this is an important mission, and we're not alone. Recently, we had the opportunity to speak to some of our visitors at the grand opening on the museum green and inside the museum at the first of our speaker series program.
My family history on my mother's side dates back to pre-Rockingham County, and we've got a lot to be proud of, and I think this just shows that off.
I think this museum is a highlight of what Rockingham County was and what it can be.
History is our life. History is our background. Without history, we would have no story to tell. And the stories we tell of our lives and everyone's lives is our own heritage. And here in Rockingham County, the heritage is rich and deep and wide and worth telling. The story is a wonderful story.
Robert Underwood, thanks so much for being here and being part of the museum on a regular basis. So tell us, why do you think history is important?
Because we learn from our mistakes, from historical blunders.
Very good. And you enjoy working with history, don't you?
I surely do.
Tell us your favorite thing.
Colonial artifacts.
I think history is important because many students now in the school systems don't understand their local history, and I think it's important for them to understand where they came from and their backgrounds and how they can improve their local communities throughout the years.
Well, I think history is important because it tells us who we are, where we've been, where we are now, and where we can go. And I think it provides a roadmap for our journey for the future. An investment in learning about our history is not just an investment for now, but it's an investment for the years to come.
Okay, well, all my life I've thought history was important. It was real important to me. My father told me a lot of interesting stories, and that piqued my curiosity. So I really spent 50 years chasing the history of Rockingham County. The story's not half told. There's a lot of history out there to find. So we need to find it and preserve it for our heritage.
Over the Rainbow song.
Over the Rainbow sounds great.
Over the rainbow. Skies are blue. Our dreams at the sandwich.
And our dreams come true, don't they? Our dreams have come true today. Tell us what you've done today that's been your favorite thing, Layla.
The rocks.
The rocks. The Rockingham County Mineral Club and their water sluice. What was your favorite one? What color was it?
Pink.
Pink. Pink. Did you like the museum?
Mm-hmm.
Will you come and visit again? I'm so glad. Mwah! My granddaughter. Thank you.
We're going to open our session. This is our second session, and we're going to open as we did before. We're going to ask you to stand for prayer. Ask you to bow your heads and open your hearts. Father, help us to accept the many challenges that we must face. We praise you for the strength and protection you constantly provide for us. Help us to move forward and not just stand in fear. We realize that you have given us
a spirit of fear. You have not given us the spirit of fear. So we need to challenge ourselves to rid and make forward those things that weaken us and make us afraid. We offer this prayer in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen. Thank you. Tonight we're in for an extremely wonderful treat. We're going to have two wonderful speakers. I warn you, don't get too close to Proctor, because she's so exciting and enthusiastic, and you'll be on fire. But anyway, we're going to come up, our next speaker, and we're very informal. So, Dr. Helmut, aren't you? Oh, who's next? You're next, yes, please.
I'm here to talk to you tonight about community college. I'm Michael Helmut, I'm the president of Rockingham Community College. And I've been here about 18 months, so I'm a fairly new person. I've never lived in this county before, but I'm learning to love it. It's a great place to be. I was asked to give you a little bit of the past, present, and future of the college. And I can talk pretty fast, so I'll try to slow down just in case, but I'm also going to watch the time pretty closely. The North Carolina Community College system, of which we are a part, began really in Rockingham County. A lot of people don't realize that. In fact, it's going to be commemorated in October with a plaque in the old Leaksville. What started there was an industrial education center in 1958. It was part of the mills that were over there, and it was begun to teach textile workers. And that was the forerunner of the entire North Carolina Community College system, which is now considered, quite frankly, the best in the country. It was the first such center that was built, and it was a training ground, as I said, for textile workers, and it was later absorbed into the community college system. There were about 20 of those facilities that were built. RCC, as you now know it, was begun in 1966. Our charter was actually in 1963. We were, I think, the second or third community college in the state to have a charter. They passed a law in 1963 that allowed for the formation of community colleges. We were one of the first. In fact, they said that they were astounded at how fast RCC got their paperwork into Raleigh so that the community college could begin. We are, as I said, 1963 it was started. I told you earlier that I'm the fourth president at this institution. Gerald James was the first president, and Dr. Jerry Owens was Gerald James was the first president. Dr. Jerry Owens was the second president. Had lunch with Dr. Owens today, so I'm still staying in touch with those presidents who are still living, and Dr. Bob Keyes was the most immediate past president, and I'm the fourth person. And most of those presidents last about 15 years here, so we'll see if I make it that far. I'll be pretty old by that time. Each new president who comes into this college has brought his own agenda, and I'll say his, it would be his or her if we were talking to the future. And mine is workforce and economic development. I was hired by the Board of Trustees, and I'll talk about who they are in a moment. But my goal is more jobs for more people in Rockingham County. We are here to push economic development in this county, and I'll talk to you a little bit about how we do that, and I hope that you see how it fits in. We are one of 58 community colleges in the state. We serve the community college system in the state of North Carolina serves 850,000 students every year. That's 1 out of every 8 residents in the state of North Carolina takes a community college class at least every year. Every citizen in North Carolina is within 30 minutes of a campus or an off-site facility. That is one of the reasons why we're one of the best in the country, because we have the best access of any of the community college system. We serve only Rockingham County at this site, so we are only chartered to serve Rockingham County. That's why you don't see us advertise and go trolling for people in other counties, although we do have a fair number of students who come in from other counties and take courses with us. We have about 8,000 students on our campus. That's a head count, and they take anywhere from a 1 or 2 hour course all the way up to a full load. And a full load is anything above 12 semester hours. I'm not going to get into how all that's calculated or even tears. But we have, in any given year, we have about 8,000 students who are on our campus. We're governed by a local board of trustees. There are 12 people on our 12 appointed trustees and 1 student trustee. And those trustees come from the governor, who appoints 4 trustees, and the school board appoints 4, and the county commission appoints 4. If you want to be a trustee, there are no heavy-duty requirements. You can talk to any one of those entities and discuss with them about what they use for their selection criteria. As a president, I don't get involved in that. I work with the trustees that come to me. And I can tell you that we have the best group of trustees that I have ever been affiliated with, and this is my third school where we have trustees. It's an outstanding group. They represent you very well and do a lot of good things. They serve without pay, so if you're looking for a paying job, there is no money in being a trustee. Every now and then we feed them, but that's about it. Each of those trustees serves a 4-year term. So each year we will have 3 trustees who rotate off in this 4-year cycle. And then that student trustee changes every year. Student trustee is by office, and it's the SGA president who serves in that capacity. One of the things that has been very surprising since I came here, because this is a rural community, is that people don't truly understand what RCC does. We have this new ad campaign that we have started now to let people know what we do at the college. So I'm going to tell you what. We provide a variety of educational opportunities, as you might guess. We have 2 main areas of education. We have continuing education, and I'm going to talk about, and it's a little more complex than the curriculum side. The curriculum's a little easier to understand. But under continuing education, we do things like GE preparation, and we also give the GE test. We had over 150 graduates this year. We're one of the larger high schools in the county. People don't realize, but if you count our GED graduates, we actually graduated 150 students this year. And surprisingly, for some people, our GED graduates do amazingly well when they go on to college. They do incredibly well. In fact, we just started a new program this year that Coanne is very familiar with, where we're giving away one course to all of our GED graduates, one curriculum course. And we just did the research on that, and we found out that those students, we had about 50 some odd students, I think, that took the course, took advantage of that one course option, and they're taking an average of 9 hours. We gave them 3, so they added to it, either going through financial aid or something like that. We also do in continuing education basic skills, which is sub-college level coursework, and some of that basic skills does feed into the GED, but it's for people who are below our developmental area and need some brush up to get up to the college level curriculum. And that's done in our continuing education. We also do English as a second language. That tends to flex and float depending on what the population is. Sometimes we have more Hispanics who are in that. Sometimes we have other languages. But those are people for whom English is a second language. When I was in Burke County prior to coming here, we had a lot of Hmong who were in that. That's some people from Laos. And so we taught a lot of English as a second language. And that group had been very big at one point. And since we were into the second and third generations, we didn't have as much of a need. We do community interest courses. Sometimes we refer to those as cake decorating. But they're, of course, more broad than that. Everything from scuba diving to just a variety of courses. We also have courses and programs for senior citizens. We have a Center for Active Retirement on our campus that is funded through a grant, and we provide a number of activities and services for senior citizens on our campus. And there is some transportation that goes along with that program, but we don't provide. It's provided through another service. We do occupational extension courses, and occupational extension courses are courses that lead to job skills. And sometimes it's not immediately clear how that happens. For example, our woodworking program is an occupational extension course. It's occupational extension because you can go through that program. It's in-depth enough to where we would teach you how to actually run a woodworking business. Wood turning is a part of that too. That's a program that we brought back from the brink of extinction. We kept all that equipment and we're beginning to branch out with that program. So that's a very exciting program that we've got. We have a variety of occupational extension programs that are designed to bring people back into the workforce or to enhance their skills in the workforce. In our curriculum program, we have over 75 programs of study. These are transfer degree programs like the Associate of Arts, the Associate of Science, the Associate of Fine Arts. Those are designated to bring students up to a junior level, and then they transfer off to a 4-year university or college. We guarantee those students 44 hours of general education that is accepted at any University of North Carolina or any North Carolina state school if they complete the 44 hours of general education in the basic area. And those basic courses include English, math, sciences, all the courses that you would expect, and then some specific courses for universities. Some universities may require one history where another may require a different history. But if you will take the courses from us as a student, we guarantee that those will transfer into a university or a college. In fact, you are guaranteed admittance into a University of North Carolina school somewhere, but not necessarily Chapel Hill, which is where everybody seems to want to go. Unless you're a North Carolina State graduate, then you don't care. We also have non-transfer degrees. We call these non-transfer degrees, but that's a little bit of a misnomer because a lot of schools do take them as transfer degrees. Those are things like the Associate of Applied Science degree. We also offer certificate programs, which are 1 or 2 semester programs designed to get you in school and out back into the workforce very quickly. Associate of Applied Science degrees are 2-year programs. We also offer diploma programs, also at a different level. These are sub-2-year programs, but they would be in specific areas. Cosmetology would be an example of that. We have 1 to 5 semester programs. Certificate programs might last for 1 semester. Nursing, for example, is a 5-semester program. Right, Ian? I'm sorry, you do something. 5-year program, or excuse me, 5-semester program. And those programs would include these non-transfer programs, what we could lump under the non-transfer area: nursing, surgical tech, basic law enforcement technology, basic law enforcement training, excuse me, electronics engineering, computer integrated machining, and welding. All of the people that go through those programs find jobs if they want to find jobs. We have an incredibly high fill rate because most grads in our technical programs are in high demand areas. 90+% of the people who go through our programs and graduate find work in their area. In many areas, it's 100% of our graduates find work in their area. We can place every welder who comes out of our certificate program. We've got a company in Kernersville who is waiting for our graduates as soon as they come out. They want to put them to work, and they pay quite well. One big growth area for us that you all may not be aware of is what we call the return to college student, and that's a person who already has a 4-year degree and is returning to the community college to find something that will earn them a living. A lot of people have the mistaken notion that there are a lot of 4-year degrees. Unfortunately, they don't do that. And we're a lot less expensive than those 4-year universities, so they come back to us, and the result is that they get into one of those high demand areas. A little bit about the value of a college degree, and we're talking about everything from a certificate program all the way up to a 4-year degree program or a professional degree. Even more of those people who do not have degrees, there are people who earn a degree from us generally make $20+ an hour. But over the life of a graduate, we are finding that $1.3 million is the number that we're using to tell people how much more you will make as a college graduate versus a non-college graduate. So if you finish high school and go into the workforce, or if you compare that to the person who goes into the 4-year degree program or 2-year degree program, $1.35 million. Of course, some make more, some make a little less, but it averages out to that. The other exciting thing is that I find about graduates is what happens down the road, the legacy that we create. College graduates tend to raise college graduates. And whether you completed your graduate degree and an advanced degree, or whether you got a 2-year college degree, we find that each subsequent generation goes and gets more education than their parents did in many cases. So it's kind of an exciting thing to see. We are a little bit about our funding. We're a state and locally funded institution. The county funds the buildings and the grounds. They are very generous to us. We work really well with the county, but they own what you see down there. Actually, by law, the trustees own it, but the county does the funding for that. We collect tuition from our students, and people fuss about tuition all the time, but we have the lowest tuition of any southeastern school in North Carolina. Other places where I've been, it was far more expensive. Those funds are returned to us in a little formula that we call FTE, full-time equivalency. And I'm not going to get into too many details, but the easiest way to remember it is if a student comes to us and takes a full load of 12 hours, then what we get back from the state is a set amount for each of those 12 hours. It is more complicated, and Coan's sitting there going, yeah, that's a simple version. It's much more complicated when we get into basic skills and some of the other things. But basically, for every student, we will return money from the state, but we don't keep the tuition in-house. The state allocation to us is over $12.7 million in our last budget. The county funds us at the rate of about $2.2 million a year, and that includes maintenance and those people that help maintain, and also some of the other things that we fund. We provide about $7 million in financial aid. I got those figures from Coan, so I know they're right. $7 million in financial aid, about $12 million in total financial aid. And I think that includes our Pell Grants and everything. The foundation provided last year over $250,000 in scholarships. We have one of the best foundations in the state, and it's because of the generosity of people like you. Money should not be a deterrent to any student who comes out of a high school in this area. We can find ways to make sure that students are able to go to school, and they really should be with us in post-high school. They should be spending some time with us or someplace. I feel that RCC is the best place to pull the county out of its economic problems, and that's been verified by some other folks that have come in and looked. We are the primary provider of workforce education in this county, and we are already training the current workforce and beginning to train the future workforce. We are by law, many people don't realize this, the workforce development providers in the state, all across the state and the county. It is actually written into law in North Carolina. It's one of the reasons we plan to continue to be an institution of excellence dedicated to serving the needs of Rockingham County, and we were just named one of 16 excellent institutions across the state because we met all 8 of our performance measures and we exceeded the rate that we had to meet. So this is a rural college, but it is ranking up there. We even beat out the big guys, the GTCCs and some of those others. We're currently developing new programs as quickly as we can, and we tailor those programs to build the local economy. We provide training to grow local businesses, and we're concentrating on Rockingham County. We are one arm of economic development here. We work very closely with the Economic Development Partnership and other entities in the county, Business and Technology Center, in order to make sure that we grow this area. This is the one place on the community college campus where everybody can come together. We're neutral. In any given week, we may have the will of the people and the Dan River Basin Association. We try not to get them on the campus together at the same time. They do represent 2 opposite ends of the spectrum in many ways, but they do come to our campus, and we make that campus open. We've had the Democrats and we've had the Republicans, and we welcome everybody onto our campus, and we plan to keep it that way. We plan to stay neutral and welcome everybody. We are expecting to grow in the future. We are looking for 500 students earnestly, because I think that there are at least 500 students based on the information that I've got who need to be with us, who are coming out of high school and not doing anything. That's the student we want. We want that kid who comes out of high school and says, I don't know what I want to do, so they hang around the house, sleep on mama's couch, and get into trouble sometimes. We would like to have them out with us. A couple of things that we've done in the last 18 months, or a few things that we've done. We have a new motto, learning, service, and leadership. We have a new official college seal. That was a little controversial. We changed the college seal from the original. We think the new one reflects a little bit more the growth, the direction that we're taking. We have a new strategic plan for the college. It was approved Tuesday night by the Board of Trustees, so it's an official new college strategic plan. We have a new marketing campaign. I would have brought you a big stack of brochures, but I wasn't sure how many people were going to be here. Didn't want to carry in that great big heavy load. But they're all over town, and you can certainly stop by the college and pick one up. We have a new look and a new sound. Our television station has been completely redone. Did anybody even know we had a television station? Channel 2, it looks a lot different than it did a year ago. We've taken it under a different department, and we're doing everything that we can. We are working on facilities, as I mentioned earlier. We are trying desperately to bring our facilities up to speed with the rest of it. But we're trying to be very frugal with the money that we spend. We are not looking to build a new building. As I have said many times since I've been here, we do not have a facilities problem on our campus. We have a facilities use problem. So we are taking the old Owens building, which has been about half vacant since the departure of the Child Development Center, and we are repurposing that to become a simulated hospital. It will be a state-of-the-art simulated hospital where we can train people for the healthcare industry. It is perhaps the largest area that we know there will be growth in, is healthcare. As we all get older, we're going to need people to take care of us, and we're making sure that we target that. But the simulated hospital will allow us to train people more efficiently, and we'll be able to train more people. We're even looking at expanding when we do those offerings. It allows us to allow our students to have their clinical sites on campus. We're remodeling the original chemistry building. The county has very graciously worked with us to get the money for that, and that's a $750,000 refurbishing of the original chemistry building. I swear every time I go in there, I expect Frankenstein to sit up. It looks that old. But we're going to start that in May. We're working on turning some storage areas into classrooms. We had a classroom-sized storage area that we were just piling stuff in. So one of the things we're doing is we're going to get a cheaper building to put the junk in, and until we sell it at a surplus sale, and then we're going to move a classroom into that. We're also moving into off-campus centers. We have a center in Reedsville that will open up next month, where we will have our woodworking, so you can take a wood turning or a woodworking class, or if you want to just come down and do some general shop time, we're going to have that available. It's on Scale Street, downtown Reedsville. We also have a new facility in Eden that we hope to open up next month, where our fermentation, distillation, brewing, fermentation, and distillation technologies program will be. We are teaching people how to brew everything from beer to ethanol to go into cars. It's a science-based program. I am going to stop at this point because I'm running out of time, but I will tell you the things that you can do is to say nice things about us. And when you run across those people that are looking for someplace for their children or themselves to go, send them our way. I think we've got a great service to offer to the county, a lot of opportunities. We can find money for most people to go to school, and we're always looking for ideas. I have an open door policy, and that includes sending me an email or calling me. I will talk to you, or I will get back to you if I'm not available at that time. I welcome all comments. I'm still feeling my way through the area, and I need help from people like you to tell me the direction that the college should be going. You all have much better ideas about where we should be going than I do. I'm going to stop there and ask you if you have any questions, because I was supposed to only go 7 minutes. I think I have my time. Yes, sir.
Dr. Hellman, I know you have another engagement, and I think you have to do the opening.
I'm good for about another 7 or 8 minutes.
But what I would ask you, if you would, not in detail, but if you could email your notes to Mabel. I saw several students screaming trying to take notes. So if you would, we'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've got it already. I do everything electronically. So
that was your question?
No. I did have another question.
Go right ahead.
There are other colleges in other counties that are now participating in the North Carolina Back to Work program. It's kind of a niche program that specifically targets long-term unemployed. Is there any chance that RCC may participate in such a program?
We want another name for that program. I think it's the same one as the mid-level skills grant that's just come out. We didn't qualify the first round, and we didn't qualify because a lot of that is built around, if we're talking about the same, there are about probably 50 programs.
Well, it's free.
We are qualifying for some of that, and I'm not sure if we're talking about the same program or not. Coanne, do you know? Okay, I'm not sure either. We do have a number of back-to-work programs, and I'm not sure whether the one that you're talking about.
Well, this one specifically provides free courses in certain professions geared to getting people back to work, and it's specifically for long-term unemployed people. And some of the criteria are that you have to have exhausted your unemployment benefits and a couple of other criteria, but other than that, all the courses are free, and where are we with that?
I think we do participate in that. I think the one that we're talking about, again, it's divided by common languages. Human Resources Development Career Readiness Certificate is a very strong program for us. We offer that not only on the main campus, but through the Goodwill Centers in the area. We have a strong partnership with Goodwill. And I think that's the same one that we're talking about. We have a number of back-to-work programs. If a person is out of work and they've exhausted their benefits, we have a lot of avenues to explore with them. So it just depends on what. Some of those are industry-specific, but if you're going into a specific industry and we don't have the industry there, that's the one I was starting to tell you about, the mid-skills. We didn't have that, so we didn't qualify the first round. We're going after the second round that will give us the money to do that. And that one was announced recently. Davidson, Forsyth, Guilford, somebody else has that grant in the area, but we didn't have enough of what we call the third-party verifications. But if a person in this area is out of work and they need training, they need to come see us.
I'm going to introduce our county manager. He was with us last week, but he's also with us again, and he too will have some interesting comments, and hopefully we'll be able to take questions afterwards. Now let me warn you folks, we've got several people here in the museum who will be waiting as guides to help us, and we may have to go through our break period so that we don't keep them here all night, okay? Lance?
Good evening. I'm Lance Metzer. I'm your county manager, and I'm officially a homeowner. I purchased a house and have been working on the house all day, so my paint high is starting to come off a little bit, so hopefully I'll be able to function correctly.
What was it you just said?
What?
What was it you just said?
I don't know what I said. If it starts going, snap your fingers and do like this. Yeah, really. Well, he's taking it back there. Put it on YouTube, Roy, if you need to. As Dr. Helmick said, longevity for the presidents over at the college are 15 years, with the managers for Rockingham County are 10 years or less. So hopefully I can at least live that longevity out for the county. I've been here a total of 8 months, as I mentioned last time, and I have enjoyed every moment I've been here. Just a little bit about the county as far as history. In 1785, the General Assembly created Rockingham County from the northern portion of Guilford County. So you were actually part of Guilford County. So thank goodness we broke off. Rockingham County was named for Charles Watson Wentworth. He was the second Marquis of Rockingham, served as Great Britain's Prime Minister. In 1787, site for county seat secured, and county court convened a new courthouse near the center of the county. In 1798, the General Assembly established the town of Wentworth as the county seat. In 1868, the North Carolina Constitution created the Board of Commissioners. The commissioners were 3, and then they went back to 5. I don't know how long ago that was, but you've got a good group of commissioners, and the way this organization works is obviously the organizational chart that we have. Citizens, all of you are our employers. And then you elect the Board of Commissioners, who appoints a county manager, and the county manager oversees the operations and day-to-day functions of the county. We have, in the county, we have, in case these are areas that you may need to contact, they fall under my purview. It's finance, planning and zoning, building inspections, tax department, information technology, animal shelter, human resources, maintenance, public utilities, which includes water and sewer, landfill, facilities management, 911 communications, emergency management, fire marshals, emergency medical services, solid waste conservation, tourism, public information officer, strategic management, wellness, purchasing, VisTech, Veterans Affairs, and I'm sure there's a few that we're leaving off. So, but they all fall under my purview, and I work with each department. We have in total over 660 employees that work for the county, and through our lean management process, we're trying to make sure that we provide the best bang for the buck. So we're trying to analyze each department to make sure through a workflow analysis that in fact all those employees are needed in those specific departments. So we're continuing to try to improve what we have with the county. Now, I had a kind of a preliminary breakdown of what I was going to discuss, but I've come up with my own little presentation. As I normally do, I'll get it and I'll look at it and I'll think, well, I'll change it around a little bit. Just a little bit about what the county manager does. My main 2 goals is to implement the policies that the Board of Commissioners set. And then my second major responsibility is to develop and present the budget to the commissioners for their consideration. Some of the other offsets are that I'm a conduit between the Board of Commissioners. They set policies. I'm obligated to implement those policies, and they're implemented through the department heads or the staff. We have a budget of $83 million. Most of it comes from you all, from real estate and sales taxes, and then state and federal funds. In the role as a manager, no 2 days are the same. One day you'll be dealing with a citizen who has a complaint about someone who wants to have a haunted house, and they're concerned about issues with that, to having a major fire up in an area that staff has to go and evaluate the cause of it, come back. In my position, I really don't have set hours. I can get calls at 2 in the morning, 5 in the morning, 7 at night, 10 at night, anytime during the day. Some of the major issues that we're dealing with is economic development, and the 2 concerns that we have with it are high unemployment rate. Right now we're at 11.5%, one of the highest in the state. And the other thing is that we rely heavily, as I mentioned before, on you all, real estate. And a lot of people in Rockingham County are on fixed incomes. So our goal is to try to figure out a way to solve that. And one way is to diversify our revenue streams. And that ties back to economic development. If we can get more industry, more business to locate here, then we can shift some of the burden from you all as taxpayers to taxing the equipment, facilities they build. So we're constantly trying to develop ways to improve that. The traditional economic development approach was great in the past, but this day and time, it's being very difficult for us to try to promote the industries that bring in 100 jobs, 200 jobs, 500 jobs, and invest $60 million, $100 million are a thing of the past. If we're lucky, yes, great. But typically those large businesses know where they want to locate, and it all depends on the location of where you are. What we're trying to start focusing on is entrepreneurship, small businesses. We have a study that's being conducted by Dr. Jim Johnson and Dr. Alan Parnell with the School of Government. They're helping us evaluate the best way to improve our economic development initiatives. And again, it goes back to small businesses, and I'll give you an example. We have a business in the county that is going to hire 22 employees, 1 conveyor belt. Their product's a good product. The potential there is large. So if they get another business, say Kroger or Harris Teeter, then that 1 conveyor belt can turn into 2 or 3, and we can have 44 jobs or 66 jobs. So we have to work on promoting the small businesses in our county, and I think that we're starting to understand that. And what the catchphrase for that is called economic gardening, meaning that you plant the seed, and the seed spread and it grows. Well, that's what we want to do here. We want to make sure that we're business friendly, we're customer oriented, and we're heading down that route. I think that we have a lot of opportunity here. Dr. Helmick and I, we were sitting at a round table with people who've lived here all their lives, and they were talking about the doom and gloom of how, Fieldcrest was here, how this was a thriving community, and now, we're left with just a shell. He and I looked at each other and said, look, this is a great place. I mean, ever since I've moved here and he's been here, I find it nothing but fantastic, great people, great opportunities, great location, great natural resources. So I think that those are things that we need to take advantage of and promote. And through the process of redirecting our economic development efforts, we're going to start focusing on some of these areas, particularly tourism. Tourism is the best economic development because people come in, they spend money, and they leave. Very little services we have to provide. We don't have to provide, libraries or ESS or health. There may be occasional sheriff or occasional EMS, but other than that, that's it. And one area that we've focused on in tourism is our natural amenities we have. Our rivers, our mountainous areas. Look at things such as kayaking, obviously, canoeing, geoteching, free ride parks, mountain bike rides, just all sorts of trails, things that make this county more unique than any other county. You live in Guilford County or Greensboro and you have the fast pace of life, then you can drive 30 minutes away and do the outdoor things, which I think is a pretty neat thing. We're also trying to work with our local surrounding counties. We're working with Danville, Martinsville, with their industrial parks because, again, they're just over the line. We're going to have citizens here that are going to find jobs over there, and they're going to come back over here. So there's a lot of things that we're looking at with economic development, but the key thing is we want to improve our unemployment rate, get people back working, and take the burden off the real estate taxpayers. And when I said 11.5% unemployment, those are only the ones that register. Now realizing that our unemployment rate is probably around 20%. Another initiative that we're dealing with is consolidation of our health and human services, and this is a large issue. This past year, the General Assembly passed House Bill 438, which allowed us to combine health and social services together, which will provide a better product for the citizens, a better product for the customer. I've got a lot of issues to talk about, and I probably won't have a whole lot of time. Also, we're trying to improve our health and community. Right now, we're probably one of the worst health-related counties in the state, and it ties back to unemployment, and we're trying to work on initiatives to improve that. Improve the image of the county. You hear on the TV about the issues that we have through Rockingham County. Well, Mabel's developed a ad hoc committee to help us try to improve the image instead of having all the negative stuff out there, try to enhance and promote the good things that are going on in the county. Working on a lot of internal improvements, policies. You know, your body can look good, but if your heart, your liver, your other organs internally aren't working well, then it doesn't enable you to perform at your best. So we're trying to develop policies internally to improve what we have. The landfill, we're working hard on landfill. We've got a study out now with GVB to help us better analyze our landfill and how to best promote and to increase the longevity of our landfill. Just a little bit about me. We try to be as transparent as possible. As Dr. Hemrick said, I have an open door policy. Anytime you have any questions, any concerns, any comments, you can call me, you can email me, you can stop by. Whatever it needs, I will make sure that I make myself available to meet with you all. Last but not least is the commissioners, for the first time, developed goals and objectives. And this is the first time they have done this with achievable objectives by the staff. And we're looking forward to making this a document that's not stagnant, but is a rotating document. Once these goals are met, next year the commissioners develop new goals. They're met, so we're constantly trying to improve the services that we provide to our citizens. I know I don't have any more time. I got a lot to talk about, but you know, I could talk 2 or 3 hours, but I know you guys don't have time.
Well, what we might could do, do we have 1 or 2 maybe questions? Yes. Go right ahead. Yes.
Oh, I have a, what about incentives for companies that might want to move here? What comes to mind is Sheetz that opened a distributorship in Burlington, and they were given some kind of incentive to make them feel comfortable to want to go there.
We were one of the counties that Sheetz was looking for to locate. It all came down to the location. They had a major interstate that Sheetz wanted to be located near. We could provide the same incentives that Alamance County can provide. We had the exact same package on the table. It just came down to location, and they're located right on 85. It was a great location for them.
I have another question that might be a little out.
Sure.
Because I'm thinking about the horse park, where it was shot down and commissioned, and that would have brought jobs. It would have brought people to, you know, because horses got to go, and they got to dump it away. You know, things need to be brought and taken away, and it seemed like that would have brought a lot of jobs to Rockingham County.
The horse park?
Yeah.
I can't answer the horse park. That was before my time.
Okay.
There were some interesting things with that, but I fortunately wasn't privy to that part of it.
Let me just say, Richard, we have a list of questions that you all sent in, and many of those questions will be answered, and you'll have that information. And perhaps when that particular department comes in and make a presentation, if there are more concerns you may have, you may, you know, dig into it a little deeper. I think I saw one more hand. We have one more time for one more question, please.
Yeah, thank you. So many of the things that you brought up today are some of the processes and services that that you have to guide every day, and you're doing an excellent job from what I've heard. Are all revenue driven? They're all like extremely dependent on the revenue and revenue that we get in from the county, various ad valorem taxes and that sort of thing. And yet we're not really going to get into that until segment 10 here. And I'm just wondering, can you give us? Is there some way that we could either like move segment 10 up in the schedule, or can you give us a brief, in writing, a brief abstract of the county budget so that we can look at it and see just what sort of revenues and expenses these various, all these various services and processes that we're going to be talking about, where they all stack up in the overall county budget. Now, having said that, we don't want a document like this thick.
Right.
Something that we can look at and say, oh, okay, they're getting X number of dollars. That gives me an idea of where they
John,
stand in the pecking order.
If anybody can make things simple, Lance can.
That's great.
We've got an executive summary that's probably 10 pages. You can read it, you'll understand
That'd be
exactly.
super.
If you want the big document,
No,
we
no,
sort
no,
of-
no, no. Don't want the
But
big
yeah, it's
document.
a 10-page executive summary that explains everything.
Well, we figure you have that big document laying on your nightstand beside your bed.
Is it
Yes.
possible, Lance, we might even could have that ready for handouts at the next meeting, could we not?
Oh, yeah.
And then we could ask questions at that section. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Kim Proctor. I'm the Executive Director here at the MARC. The MARC is our branding. As you know, when you try outreach and establish your basis in an area, branding is very important. You saw our logo in the gift shop. There's many things available. Any way you can help us get the word out, including that branding, would be greatly appreciated. A little background on me. Like the previous two speakers who I admire so much and had the opportunity to work with and get to know, I'm new to the county. I've been here for 2 years. I came from University of North Carolina at Greensboro. My history is that I raised 5 children, and that tells you something for all the moms out there and all the dads too, to be able to organize and herd cats, so to speak. It's been valuable to me, and to create teamwork. And we've had such a wonderful team developed here. I hope that you all will be involved in it once you've served your community in your capacity here in the Citizens Academy. So when my youngest went on to high school, I went back to school. Because I didn't want to relocate any of the children, I started at the community college level. And it was wonderful, and it gave me flexibility, and it let me get going on my path. I then went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and except for you state fans. Wake Forest fans, I understand. I got my bachelor's in history there. I studied under some amazing professors. It was my passion. At the end of when I graduated, I went immediately into museum studies. I went to the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, and when I entered, it was number 3rd on the East Coast because of it's not only it's theoretical, but it's hands-on training. I've interned at Old Salem, the Masonic Museum in Greensboro, the Museum of History in Raleigh, and Stagville Plantation in Durham. So I have a great deal of experience. And I tell you this to assure you that protecting your history and sharing your story is in good hands. And I'm very excited about the project we've started. The history of the organization. In 1954, the Rockingham County Historical Association was formed, and many people here in the community had that love for history and realized the need to start protecting it. In 1967, mind you, just for the fun of it, let me tell you, August 11th, 1967, which will be relevant soon, the organization incorporated. They incorporated because they were ready to really get moving from analyzing our history, sharing history with others, and really ready to do something impactful. In the 70s, the Historical Society, with the help of the state, purchased Wright Tavern, which is directly across the street from the courthouse here. 1816 it was built when, as you heard from Mr. Metzler, it was 1816, very shortly after the county seat was established here in Wentworth. And the Wright family, and then on to the Reed family, established it as a town. It was kind of the equivalent of Mom's Kitchen and the Holiday Inn all rolled into one. It served the legislators, judges, lawyers, and litigants that came into the county seat for court days every quarter. And you know, if you've looked at your history, that was a really impactful time during court days. And so they would come through riding on the circuit, including folks like Stephen A. Douglas. And they would argue cases and defend clients here in not this courthouse, but a previous courthouse on this very same spot. So in the 70s, there was a real desire by the Historical Society to restore that building. For over 120 years, it had been run by the same family. The last descendant in the area passed and became available. And the Historical Society then purchased it and turned it into a historic site. You know, a volunteer organization, and a wholly volunteer organization, it's kind of hard to do some of the things like publicity and programming, and of course some of the original people went on to their own careers and to raise their families. But it's sustained. It's sustained. In the 80s, they moved some and restored other antebellum buildings on the grounds. And then, loving this, they went on to RCC, extremely instrumental in establishing the historic village out there. If you haven't been, it's tucked away past the tennis courts, but it's intriguing. And we're doing more and more events out there so that you have that sense, first, of the unity between the organizations here in the county, of your history, and of that opportunity for continuing education and for our younger children to see the campus and know that that opportunity is there for them here in the county. To take it a step further, in 2008, when the county commissioners evaluated and knew that the Justice Center was moving forward, the Historical Society approached the county commissioners, and Commissioner Bass was one of those people. And the commissioners responded with a letter of intent to lease this building to us. In 2011, they delivered on that promise. They not only leased to us this building, but the 1910 jail across the street. So you can well imagine that our long-term picture is to have a historic site, to have the museum and archives, the museum proper, and then the archives here as well, and additional exhibits across the street in the jail. We're building a historic complex. When you look at that concept, and of course the museum green next door, some of you remember that as a gravel parking lot. That was all reclaimed, it was seated, and now it hosts the Bateau from Leakesville, one of the beautiful tables from Chinkapin, and a hitching post that was acquired in Chinkapin that actually belongs to Old Salem and goes back to the early 1800s and was built, was cast by a very famous foundry in Philadelphia. It's here for a couple of years to talk about our connection to Salem and Forsyth County, and then it will go and be replaced along with its brothers and sisters on the main street through Salem. That's exciting for us. Now let me just go back a little bit and let you know something that is important for me that you understand in your roles. When the county commissioners leased these buildings to us, they additionally gave us a stipend of $50,000 a year. Based on their research and things that we could contribute to it, relative to the responsibility of the county to maintain their properties at mothball stage. Mothball stage being things like 68 degrees, being things like continuing with repairs, taking care of pipes and HVA systems and that kind of thing. So what the county determined, again with our help, so we can validate this for you, was that it was going to cost $50,000 a year to mothball it. And so without taking any more money out of the taxpayers, from the taxpayers, we were able to use those funds wisely to create an attraction, to recreate, as I spoke of, a venue for education, for community meetings like the one we're having tonight, and numerous other things. You'll see shortly, it's a great place to visit. It's a good place when family comes in, when friends come in from other areas. We're always looking for something interesting to do with them, and this is that type of thing. So, as we, in 2011, the county commissioners, the county awarded us this privilege. So happy. In 10 months, we put in a county-wide, professionally built, authentic, inclusive museum. And that's what you'll see this evening when you go through. Our history is accurate. Our information is helpful. The museum is designed to create relevancy for the county. Throughout, you'll see images, you'll see artifacts, you'll see stories that you can relate to. You'll say, oh, that's so-and-so, or I'm related to this person, or I can tell you about working in tobacco, or any number of things that you might remember. It's important that a museum be relevant. This is not the museum of old, where you went through and saw a few things and maybe had a nice tour guide, but it really wasn't about you. It wasn't about you. And I have to say that this is a community effort. We have built this thanks to community support. Partners we've had like RCC, like the public school system, like the public libraries, like the Reedsville Area Foundation, like the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, the North Carolina Museum Council, and of course the Smithsonian Institution, who came in and before the lease was even executed, saw that we were a good risk. We are one of 6 locations in the state of North Carolina to be granted the opportunity to host this Smithsonian exhibit. When you go out, spread the word. It leaves next Saturday. So there is 1 week remaining for our community to really get to enjoy this. In addition to allowing us to host, we went way outside the box. Never before have they separated the 7 kiosks that make up this traveling exhibit. But we convinced them to do something new. Not to mention we wanted to be a model for the Smithsonian. We want the website spot. We want to be the reference for the next traveling exhibit. They allowed us to break this apart because our plan was to put the kiosks in galleries where the adjacent local exhibits fit with the subject. Now, the advantage to that is we go into a gallery, we see local things, relevant things, and then we see it within the context of the national picture. And this marrying of these two takes our folks and our students from, oh, I know this, saw this growing up, heard my grandparents talk about this, to, oh, look, we were going with the trends of the nation, and sometimes we were going ahead of them. And this gives you a real sense of who you are. I concur with all the folks that watched this, that were in this video about the importance of history. I would add to it that understanding your history helps you understand yourself. And I think it's vitally important that we create a vehicle for that, and that's what we've done. Phase 1, you're going to see the majority of Phase 1. The remaining pieces of Phase 1 is the education wing and the discovery room. We anticipate having that ready by the first of the year. Phase 2 begins with the archives. We will have a first-class archive. We can't have a museum and archives without those archives. A museum was brought first, and archives comes in next year. In 2014, we'll be moving across the street where we'll use the jail to create wonderful exhibits that we can't fit in here. And many people thought we were going to have all this extra space, but we're running out of space all the time. There are so many best-kept secrets in this county. There are so much history, and there's so many requests from citizens for exhibits that are relevant to them. For example, Civil War and military textile, music. These are the things that folks are asking. We are planning in our town because it's important. This is a fine place. As Dr. Helming said, like this is a new place. And so bring all of these things in and continue to develop the way that we need to reach yourself very important. Let me share that with the exception of the graphic panels on the walls, all the work was done by employing Rockingham County citizens. All of the construction, the historic restoration, all of the lighting, everything. Our gift shop carries locally made things. Art, foodstuffs, textile art, all of these kinds of things. With the exception of branding items, which were purchased through a company here in the county. Again, this is our part for economic uplift. Our plans next year are to add 2 to 3 staff members and hire them here locally. We have experts in this county. We have experts. And sometimes we don't think about that related to the museum field. We have a woman here in the county who worked at the Smithsonian as an archivist. Now, needless to say, we've been having intense talks with her about what we might do relative to the archives and how to move forward. You know, I can talk about this all night. But I want to make sure you understand that this is not a stagnant project. These exhibits are not stagnant. They will be refreshed so often that you'll have a reason to come in time after time. It's not a one-stop place. You don't come in once. Kind of like Disney World. You can't see everything in one day. You can't see everything in one visit. So you want to come back again and again. You know, it's so exciting. And I'll continue to talk a little bit about this. I'm concerned about time at this point. And as we go through, you won't hear me be quiet for very long. Our immediate movements forward, I am very proud to announce, is that next week over 1,200 4th and 8th graders will be going through the museum to ensure that they have an opportunity to see the Smithsonian exhibit. Many of our citizens may never have the chance to go to Washington, D.C. and enjoy something of this quality. So we're really excited, and when you divvy up the numbers, it means we have 270 students per day for 5 consecutive days between the hours of 9 and 1:30. When you see me on the streets the week after next, be nice to me. I may be stumbling around in a million directions. And then just before we go through, let me just share our hours. Again, we're outside the box. Our hours are 2 to 8 p.m. We want our families to be able to visit in the evenings. We want volunteers that are holding full-time jobs in the county but have this interest to be able to come in and work some volunteer hours and have camaraderie with us and share their interest. And just, you know, we want to make sure, typically museums are 10 to 4. We didn't want to do it that way. And so we're excited. If you are a member, you always get in free. If you're a family member and you have 6 children and a husband and your grandmother in the same household, the whole family gets in free. The rates are extremely low. We understand the economic challenges of this county. If you are not a member, admission starts at $5 for adults and works its way down with seniors and students, and then 14 and under, 4 through 14 at $250. But we put a $20 cap per family. People can't take their kids to McDonald's. They can't take them out to the movies for $20, but they can bring them all to the museum for $20. And you pick, you know, it's Thursday night, you don't think you're going to make it through the week. You pick the kids up at daycare, you come on over to the museum. First you'll go through Wendy's, upstairs, right, like we did tonight, and then come on over to the museum. And we have seen this work. We have been open since August 11th, fortuitously, 45 years to the day that the Historical Society was incorporated, and we didn't determine the opening date. The Smithsonian told us when they would bring in. So it's very serendipitous. It's almost a signpost that it's the right thing to do. So having said all those things, do you have any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I know you say you've been here 2 years.
I have.
You say yes?
I have.
Okay. This used to be a family residence. Do you know what family that owned it?
The courthouse?
This house right here. Used to be a family lived in here.
No, I don't know the answer to that. Tell me more.
Okay.
You'll have to come visit and share that history with us.
But okay. But
yes, it's hard to imagine.
This used to be a family residence.
That's very interesting.
No.
Very
That's what I understood
interesting.
when I first came here to Rockingham County.
Well, thank you for sharing that to me. I'm
I
going
thought
to
you
investigate. I'm going to go to the back for a minute.
Everybody in here may know the answer to this. Chico Pan. Is there not anything that Rockingham County can do to anything?
Well, I'll tell you what we did. We had a group of anonymous donors who had supported the outfit already, and we asked them to go and see if they could save some of that history. We have a great number of artifacts that reflect not necessarily the art that Jeff and Betsy brought in, but moreover represent their contribution to the community in other ways. And their travels on the way to bring that artifact. That exhibit will open in October. We will shut down for a couple of weeks after the Smithsonian leaves because we have to reorder exhibits and because we need to bring refreshed ones in. Chinquapin and the coffin on the 3rd floor will be our 2 new exhibits to get folks excited. So then relative to if there's anything we can do relative to the Phelps and the litigation that's going on right now, there's not a thing we can do. These are courts. These are courts that are operating on a wholly different level, and this is about
the most heartbreaking thing,
you know,
for so many people here.
I have had folks come in and cry. I have had folks tell me about going there when the Penns were there to watch movies in their theater, going there for parties. I have such a sense of the Penns, you know, inviting folks. I mean, they're Rockingham County people. Now, of course, Betsy wasn't, but as we know from the 4-H Center and all the things that she was involved in, she embraced this community, these families and these children. And you know, our contractor on the building, Cy Rothrock, tells about going out there with his friends to swim, you know, and how welcoming they were. So what we can preserve are some artifacts to prompt memories and some stories, and make sure our archives have adequate documents and photos so that that will not be lost. That's about what we can do at this point. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I don't remember if you said specifically, to what extent is this MARC entity financially self-sustaining? Is it currently financially self-sustaining, and is that the goal for it to be on a continuing basis self-sustaining?
Museums are almost never self-sustaining. They depend on funding from local people, and they depend on funding that's been allocated by state and federal government for these things.
Will the budget for the for MARC be included as a separate line item? Is it included as a separate line item on the abstract that Mr. Messler is going to provide for us next week?
I think no, I do not think that is the case.
Could we?
I'll ask my board of directors.
Have access to that?
I'll ask my board of directors, but I'll give you some quick figures.
Okay.
The Wright Tavern and operating expenses in general, which has the printing costs for all the historic complex entities, the maintenance, not maintenance, but you know, cleaning and all of the things that we need, all the publicity costs is in our unrestricted budget. It was in our unrestricted budget for this year, and that amount was $118,000. 2 years ago, the budget was $20,000. So the improvements that we've made in getting out to the public have created that increase. The restricted funds for the creation of the MARC, what you'll see going through, was $225,000. So we were over the $300,000 mark, and we have come in under budget. Sustainability, the partners that we have, when the Smithsonian takes you on, you get these traveling exhibits, you get publicity, you get training on an ongoing basis. Next year, we're being looked at for the story of the local sports teams. This county has lots to talk about the sports teams and how they've impacted from the small children to the older people. So that's a kind of thing. We have a great deal of support from Retail Area Foundation. We write grants. We have gotten state grants. We have gotten local grants. We have had fundraisers where individuals have contributed to this, and I had visits in the last 2 weeks from 4 of our federal and state representatives, 2 congressmen, 2 U.S. representatives. All of them said, we are ready to provide letters of support and to make sure you're aware of opportunities at the federal level. In fact, one said, I'll loan you my grant writing department. So sustainability-wise, it's all about in the first stages, showing community support, showing that you can actually build it, and then state and federal comes in and says, we'll help you sustain it. You've proven yourself. And that's where we're at this moment.